Second semifinals. Who's facing off against Liquid in the Grands? Karmine Corp versus Oxygen will give us our winner.
Oxygen's Archie yesterday described their quarterfinals 4-0 victory as boring, as too easy for them, Turtle. Now they're up against Karmine Corp, and these guys will not make it simple at all.
Yeah, this will be anything but boring. I mean, you're up against the most consistent team in Europe and looking to make history with 3 regional event wins for a split. This is K-Corp at their best. And I mean, we even just got to talk to Akrana. He was talking about changing up their play style as Liquid want more consistency. And when you bring up consistency, I mean, this K-Corp roster is the embodiment of that word. They are able to ferociously storm through Europe time and time again, putting up crazy stats and taking wins.
Yeah, they are just utterly dominant right now. It's never before been done in Europe or North America to win all 3 regionals in a split. Seems unfathomable. And then Vatira makes the change to Karmine Corp, and Exotic evolves. Itachi, though, he is the biggest evolution for Karmine Corp for me. That man mechanically is something we've never seen from him.
Itachi, I think I'm the biggest cheerleader for Itachi. Out of all the players in this European region, honestly, in general, Itachi is such a fantastic player and deserves all the respect and all the credit he's getting because he can shapeshift, he can form into any playstyle he needs to. He can show up when his teammates like Vatira and Exotic aren't having the best of days, or he can blend into the background. This man can literally do it all, and we're going to need to see a fantastic performance from him again because, well, if we look back historically at their previous series against each other in the semifinal of the Winter Cup, it was Itachi doing so much of the work. 7 goals, 4 assists, 80% goal participation. And we just saw an opening opportunity for Karmine Corp to get into this game early, but a quick miss.
Yeah, flash of a chance there for Exotic, who I think didn't quite predict the misses that were going to come in from the Oxygen defense. There could be another one here. Itachi forces it. Vatira just makes it look so simple, and it's 1-0 Karmine Corp.
Well, it looks so simple because Itachi's doing most of the work here. He gets behind Rise. He was storming through the midfield as well, and Vatira has that entire left side to shoot at, all because of Itachi and that hustle to get it off the backboard. Such an eager start from KC and a bit sluggish from Oxygen, but of course it's going to be difficult when you're up against this blue squad.
2 teams here that have spawned from way back when Team Queso came forward. Rise, Joyo, and Vatira. Disappointing not to see Joyo at the upcoming major, but the fact that Rise and Vatira have made it on separate teams, having taken different paths to get here, just shows what a brilliant squad that was to have come together. And now they'll share a pitch. I mean, when you've played former teammates in your time, Turtle, is it any different at all?
I definitely agree with, especially what CJ was talking about on the desk. There's the thought in the back of your mind that you're trying to, stay relevant, stay dominant. And I know for a fact, Joyo, it's not out of bad blood that he's upset or frustrated, but he, of course, wants to stay in that conversation and remain among the best in Europe. And he most certainly is, but not being able to compete at that major has got to be a pretty big pain to have to deal with, and more emotions that you're going to have to sort out as you proceed into the next split. And now you've got Rise, who wants to prove against Vatira that, he can stay in the conversation for one of the best, if not the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, Rise, who has his own sort of pressure. He was brought in to Oxygen to win events. They were disappointed at the way they went out in Rotterdam, especially playing in front of a home crowd for some of them, in the case of Joyous. So this is a roster that wants to come up against teams like Karmine Corp, but so far it has been Karmine Corp playing much further on the front foot. I'd say counterattacks from Rise have been looking like a little bit of potential for Oxygen, but so far KC the better team.
And I do think that if you're going to look towards anybody to make an impact and to change things up, it would be that Rise player who apparently, or not apparently, quite literally proven has that broken wrist. And that's going to be something that it might affect them, but again, it could be a buff. The tension could be relieved because it's not as serious coming into this matchup because you already know that there is an issue that you have to deal with. So could be a buff, could relieve some pressure. Either way, you're up against K-Corp. The mistakes are going to show up. Your defense has to be spot on. So far, it's been looking good. 1 goal to KC, but offense slightly flat.
Yeah, they did look a little bit flat, despite forcing 4 saves from Karmine Corp. I don't think any of them have been too scary. for the French team, but let's see if that can change in the next 70 seconds or so. Vatira tries a little musty over the top of one Oxygen defender. Won't get too far forward there, so Archie can come forward. He hasn't done too much so far in this game. Joris and Rise, I'd say, looking like the danger men for Oxygen, but that, of course, can change in a split second, especially if Archie's hovering underneath this one, rotating ball side, so a tricky position for him, and actually it pinches into the center. Fortunately went to Joris, and Rice is now underneath the ball.
Here we go. Let's see what kind of impact they look to make on offense. Immediately thrown back the other side, and this is just such a painful way to deal with pressure. You have a couple of opportunities, couple of chances, but these 50-50s not going your way. You can't hold pressure, but here we go, Joris. 3 people forward now for the Orange squad, and maybe the double tap, but Exotic gets in front of it and denies any chance.
Stalwart defending there from Exotic. That was a scary moment of Joris coming in. He was never going to miss. He gets another chance. Rise keeps an eye on Vatira. Vatira has enough distance between him and his former teammate just to boom that ball away. 7 seconds left of game 1. It's been pretty comfortable for KC, but Oxygen have woken up in the last 30 seconds. This is a real chance. Rise, and it's met again by Vatira. That old connection just keeps on shining on. Archie tries to pop it with Joris. Joris wasn't expecting it.
Wow.
And it is going to be victory in game 1 for Karmine Corp, but Oxygen certainly are awaking.
I mean, that is just unfair. I was on Vatira's perspective there. He pre-jumped, saved, and got a block initially to deny anybody from going for a double tap. Then he's falling off the backboard and can get the diving save again. That's 2 crucial touches back to back in the dire moments where Oxygen could have got one back and tied things up. Fantastic work, fantastic last second hustle. And that is what you're up against. How do you beat a team like that, Cole?
I mean, that's the thing. They didn't look at their best, Karmine Corp. You know, we were talking all this time about how brilliantly mechanical they are, how Vatira is this cut above anybody else, maybe mechanically in Europe right now, and it's actually stepping up. Exotic has always been consistent and is still improving. They didn't need to show it there. You know, that was a different version of Karmine Corp that are happy to just grind out a victory. So I think they'll be pleased that they didn't have to play too expansively.
Well, that's where the consistency comes through, Cole, because, you know, they're not necessarily peaking in that individual game, but they're still able to take away the W, and that's with consistent rotations. The fundamentals are certainly there. Nobody's double committing. It's all just so rock solid. No core mistakes that are just speaking out to you thinking, okay, Oxygen are going to punish. No, it's very routine for Karmine Corp, even whenever one player like Vatira isn't hitting triple resets on the offensive side.
Well, it sounds like a challenge to her. He's going to get one now just to prove you wrong and say,
oh, no, I want to
do
see
it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that one thing that Karmine Corp won't be too happy about is the fact that Rise is having a lot of time on the ball, and that's always what he's been best at. Slowing the game down when he has it, and just changing the speed and the pace of the game. And he's being allowed to do that all too often, if you ask me, and it could cause some damage for Karmine Corp as we go forwards, but so far the defending continues for them, and it's still looking pretty comfortable. They can slow the game down themselves. Still, this second game is yet to really wake up. It's all a bit midfield at the moment.
It does still feel like both teams are starting to get rid of that melatonin in their system and start to wake up in this game individually. Itachi is looking for a bump off the backboard. 3 players for Oxygen are bunched up, but nobody double commits. Communication comes through. And Vatira, all by himself, still has that flip, uses it, but it's given right back to Archie. And one thing I wanted to point out again, if we reference the previous series that the guys played against, Joris was held scoreless in that 4-0 sweep where KC were able to look dominant against Oxygen. So you'd want to see somebody step up that, you know, isn't just Rise. And for Joyo, I think Joris trying to make a couple of initiatives, a couple of waves on offensive side, that would be a good look and something to give any signs of life for Oxygen.
Yeah, and that would have hurt. Losing 4-0 when you are as talented as Oxygen are, even if it's against the runaway leaders in your region, it's going to sting. You're going to have to try and get that back. And this is what they want. They want this matchup. They want this rematch. But Exotic currently has the ball, and Oxygen have to get it back off him. Vatira just sends it forward. He hopes to a teammate, but there is no teammate there until Itachi manages on the back wall rather than the side wall to stand up tall, and Exotic can come in. So it's similar to what we saw yesterday with Team BDS for Karmine Corp. There's moments where it looks like they're about to wobble, and then it's like, oh, there's Itachi. They were never in danger after all.
Yep, Itachi just comes through in the midfield, wins a challenge, and can set up his teammates. Nothing too flashy needed for KC, which again, that's what makes them so deadly. You don't have to rely on anything spectacular, but Joreus wants to rely on this 50-50 and bulldoze his way through. He gets past both of the defenders, but Rise quickly cut out and can't get the follow-up shot. But now they've got to worry about the defensive side. It turns around that quickly, Cole.
It's unbelievable. Oxygen looking the more likely. They're having more play. They almost score themselves, and then the ball lands on Vatira's Fennec, and the rest is history, Turtle. It's so consistent from him. It doesn't look difficult at all, but he's just flicked it past a brilliant 1v1 player, a brilliant team, and he does it over and over again. It could be, though, a quick equalizer. Actually has the ball, but Itachi, he was the one we said closed players down, and he's doing his job perfectly right there. Ooh, maybe he has a chance as well to put it in. Yeah, it's still Itachi.
All about these decision-making plays, too, for K-Corp. Exotic chooses the challenge that early, and you'll notice Itachi has faith and trust in his teammate to win that challenge. He stays upfield. He could have easily rotated back, but no, he's lurking, waits for the challenge to go their way, and can finish it off.
They actually conceded a goal from doing exactly that yesterday, if I recall, against Team BDS, where maybe Vatira had absolute faith that Exotic would get a dunk or a challenge, and then when Exotic missed, it meant the ball just went over his head. It looked a little bit silly, but when it does work, that is what they're going for. If they do nail this 50-50 and do sort of perfect this challenge game, then it's an easy goal. It's a free goal.
Yeah, and they've been given no reason to not position optimistically. Every challenge has been going in their favor. The boost consumption working in their favor as well. You're seeing bumps, too, on the goal line. Everything flowing for K-Corp, but Oxygen, they're not out of it yet. There's a little bit of time left. You got to score soon, though, and look to make some damage on the defense.
Not out of it yet, but still desperately trying to score their first goal in this series. And remember, Oxygen are trying to get second seed in Europe. They still have something to play for themselves, even though they've already more than made San Diego. So this is not a pressureless game from them. There is something on the line. They have to wrestle that line away from Karmine Corp, who are starting to look more and more dominant in the series. A reminder of that 4-0 last time they played might just be there.
That is insane.
That is a genius read.
Look at the way he's reading this play. He's positioning himself in between all of the passing lanes, can cut it out, knows that's the last man back too, so he takes the shot. He's not only getting the read, getting the interception, but he can put the clear on target. That is ridiculous stuff, and a pause does come out from, I believe, Oxygen. There's been an issue with the communication. Not sure what happened there, but we're going to look to see and get back right into the game immediately. That's still ridiculous, though, as we have some time to reflect on Itachi.
Yeah, we're not quite sure whether or not that goal will stand or anything else. But, I mean, I don't think Karmine Corp care that much if that goal stands. When the camera cut to Itachi there, it's just a cheeky grin. You know, it's business as usual for them at the moment. And this is a team that everything is working for. Everything has been working for since the start of this split. You know, they've had one difficult moment as a team, really, and that was going out in Rotterdam. I believe it was the quarterfinals against Moist. Other than that, it's just been pure victory for them time after time after time.
Yeah, and it's difficult, too, because you come into this series and on paper, you know, Oxygen were able to win out their group 3-0. KC did drop a series. They won 2-1. So you also look at the statistics that are backing Oxygen to first in goals per game as a team, fourth in shots per game, third in goals against, first in shots against, second in shooting percentage, and second in save percentage. I mean, these guys are just racking up the stat sheet. So you would want to favor them coming into this series. But that is the type of respect, that is the consistency that Karmine Corp have, regardless of the stats, regardless of what they're up against. You automatically feel like they are the team with the advantage to win, and they're proving it here on the field.
Well, we've had a little tea break, and now it's as you were. The goal stands. It remains 3-0 to Karmine Corp, who should be more than capable of seeing this one out over the next 45 seconds. And for all the talk we made in the last series between G1 and Liquid about how German Amigos and Quadrant, how they have to watch on and await their fate, now it's Liquid that have the boot on their foot, because they're hoping that Oxygen are beaten here. And if they are, that means that they are the second seeds. If Oxygen win, then the second seed will go to that grand finals, and whoever wins out of Team Liquid and Oxygen. So now they are the ones who are sitting back a little bit nervous, hoping Karmine Corp don't somehow manage to mess it up from here.
Yeah, and for people who are, unaware of how impactful seeding can be, it just gives your team an easier matchup when you get to the major, and you can build momentum early on. Of course, if you're going to win the whole tournament, you got to beat everybody. Right? Yeah, you got to beat everybody, but it's the belief, it's the confidence moving into San Diego. So seeding is huge, especially for the mental sides of things. But if we're going to look at the mental side of Karmine Corp, they are confident, it's been composed, and they're about to take game number 2.
It's looking pretty machine-esque right now for Karmine Corp. All these cogs perfectly in alignment. They're well polished. Everything going through them is just coming out the exact way that it should be. It's tough to say who the MVP for Karmine Corp is for these first couple of games because, they are a team that typically are always very close. Their goals scored, goals against, etc., and saves made, all of those, between the 3 players, are unbelievably close.
Right.
So if you're Oxygen, who are now taking this time out, you're thinking, where on earth do we focus our attention? Where's the weak link in this squad?
It's going to be so difficult. I don't think there's like a weakness that you can necessarily exploit of Karmine Corp. You just have to try and outpace them in one category of this game. Start there. It could be, okay, we're going to focus a bit more on the 50-50s in this situation, try and slow down our challenges, maybe change up the approach so we win more of those 50-50s, or maybe you're thinking, okay, we could take this in the air more. There's different outlets, different options, but I don't think there's any specific weakness of Karmine Corp. You just have to beat them at the game, as simple as that sounds, and that is such a difficult task, but they have an extra 60 seconds to figure it out, Cole.
It doesn't sound simple at all, Turtle. When you say that sounds simple beating Karmine Corp, I don't know, I sort of wince and I'm like,
in terms of the advice, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
You could be up here as an analyst, they have to beat them at the game. But, sometimes you can go against a team and you think, okay, they have this certain play style that we could counter. There is no real counter to KC. It's just simply beating them in any category. It's the 50-50s, like I said, the shooting could be better. You could go for mechanical solo plays, but something has to step up for Oxygen.
Yeah, I feel like the way that Oxygen can potentially win this series or even give themselves a foothold with the game, they need a pop-off. They have to have one player who is going to say, fine, do you know what? I'm going to ceiling shot, flip reset, everything. Yep. I'm going to go for dumb stuff. I'm going to cut rotation. I'm going to probably get in your way about 6 times in this next game. And you know what? I don't even care, because if I don't, Itachi's going to read your pitch perfect pass across the field.
But that's where you need to be unpredictable with your touches, creating chaos. I mentioned that a lot in these games where if Karmine Corp are winning at a natural pace where they don't need to use Vatira like I talked about, going for triple resets. Okay, let me get some demos. Let me cut in rotation where normally I wouldn't. Change things up to where Itachi can't read those passing lanes as effortlessly as he did in the previous game, which got them that 3rd and final goal. And we'll see how that timeout is going to play into effect as we approach DFH Stadium. Game number 3 underway. What do Oxygen have to say in response?
It's a big question, and I'm hoping that we see an answer fairly soon. Still yet to score in this series. And they've almost gone behind straight after making the timeout. That hurts when it happens.
Got a flip reset.
All that time taken just feels like a waste if this goes in, but Itachi's not quite able to get it in. He sends it back to Vatira. His rotation perfect. His first touch ideal. But Jorius goes for something. I like the idea of going for the flip reset there, even though it's a little bit silly and looks a tad goofy. That is surprising. And now suddenly Archie comes forward.
Well, and there's some space, too, that was opened up from Rise getting aggressive, going for demos. This is the chaos that they're trying to wreak on to the defensive side of KC. Maybe Rise is going to go for more demos. Maybe the physicality gets picked up. Exotic, full boost to his name. 50-50s in favor of Oxygen. Quite an awkward play to start things out, but we are getting another pause on the side of Oxygen. Not sure what's going on there, but we get more of a tea break here.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone's going to be sipping on their mugs as we cut through the players and coaches this time around. My game is actually paused on a beautiful moment where Exotic is about to get a flip reset. I'm just looking at his card, touching the ball. This is really cool. I'm sorry you guys can't see this. You have to stare at Archie instead as he sits in the darkness, and the darkness is starting to overwhelm Oxygen right now. They have to break free from it.
Man, I don't know how these players do it. I love natural light. I'm a big fan of opening my windows so I don't feel like I'm inside of a cave, but I feel like almost every single face cam we see, these players are just blackout curtains. Nobody wants any ounce of sun coming through their room. It's the most stereotypical gamer that you could get. And yes, there's the open windows. And look what happens. Itachi's popping up. You know, they need sunlight, okay?
That might be the key. Vitamin D is what separates the best from the worst. Maybe. Fair play, Itachi. Well done, man. I hope those curtains remain open, or those blinds remain open, because he's a man who's not blind. He is a great seer of the game. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's not much that you and I can say beyond just carrying on our conversation about how Oxygen need to do dumb stuff. I truly cannot see any other way of breaking through Karmine Corp right now.
I mean, we got a couple of glimpses of that. Rise was getting more aggressive. I saw some riskier boost grabs where you're trying to steal and starve out.
No curtains.
More.
Good man.
No curtains. Okay, Rise, he gets it.
Yeah.
And understands it. See, that's the move. That's the meta in my eyes. But maybe, I mean, chaos could be enforced through light. All right, maybe you're using your curtains in some type of instance. I don't know, man. Yeah. We're talking about curtains to try and beat KC. This is how difficult it is to break down this squad.
Yeah, you have to sort of photosynthesize a tactic and a theory and hope it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm talking rubbish. So this series so far is pretty much what I would say going how we expect it to go, which is Karmine Corp winning it comfortably, which would, as we mentioned,
aquarium? Is that a fish tank?
Yeah. Come on, Billy. Talk us through your fish.
He's got I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm like super into these face cams right now, trying to see everybody's setup and everything. Go on, Cole.
You've totally distracted me with the fish tank thing, because now I want to see a fish go past. I hope that we're seeing, you know, the spam this
I saw
to help squishy. Nice. You know the spam this fishy to help squishy? I hope we see a lot of that. I'm out in the chat right now. I'm not looking at it. Yeah, it's a not tactical break. It's a technical pause that's currently happening. Not going to predict what will happen after this. We're only 50 seconds into this game, so it's not the biggest deal. Not too much has happened in this. I would say that in the opening 50 seconds, Oxygen looked a little bit more likely to break through Karmine Corp.
A little bit. Just being more aggressive overall, but nothing that gives me confidence that they're going to take the series. But I can feel more confident that maybe as the series goes on, they find their footing, find their groove a bit more. And this break could benefit them more to slow things down against KC. Obviously, that's not the intention, but there is a comm issue, a communication issue, what that's happening on the field. That's why there's this big pause, this big break. So there's something wrong with the communications, but we're working to get everybody back together as a team, and hopefully they can talk to each other in their caves. All right.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the comms between the Karmine Corp player and coach, at least. I mean, they look like they're having a good old chat. So it seems that their communication service is functioning as well as expected. And Karmine Corp, their synergy on the pitch, you know, with this sort of new, more balanced meta that we seem to have at the moment, they are really, I'd say, taking Europe forwards right now. How long do you think a team like this, when it is dominant, tends to have before that blueprint is matched and then they get overtaken with it? I'm thinking of BDS, right? Because they sort of ushered in this sort of era of chaos, which maybe Liquid now are playing with. And then other teams out BDS'd BDS. So then BDS have to go back and figure themselves out. At some point, Karmine Corp will have that same conversation, but it seems to be lasting a long time before they have to.
Well, I think it's a really interesting idea there that you talk about certain teams establishing the standard for how you should play Rocket League. I think Gen G is doing that in North America. I mean, First Killer in his interview said that his team literally adapted and tried to take more inspiration from what Gen G were doing. So we're probably going to see more and more of that in Europe with what Karmine Corp are doing. And that's utilizing everybody equally on the field. But it's going to be hard because you don't have players like Itachi, Exotic, and Vatira on your side, but you do have Archie, who can certainly answer the call.
Yeah, waking up after a technical pause is a huge skill that Rocket League players have to have. Keep themselves warm, keep their minds sharp. Oxygen have sharpened up. They got their first goal in the series, and it could not have come at a better time.
Yeah, and what a way to get back into the game after the pause. Just come out the gate swinging, on fire. Going to be Archie getting the first goal. Jorius has some space to work with too. Sets up Rise, but speed overwhelming for KC as they're mad and they want to get back in.
Itachi, though, has to just turn on his heels so Jorius can boom it over the top of him. Maybe that's a bit rushed from Jorius as Itachi puts in a huge clearance right back to say two can play at that game. But Jorius had a lot of space to play with, which against Karmine Corp you don't tend to have. Look how much space right now it's Karmine Corp that are enjoying. Every time the ball's coming out, it's coming to a Karmine Corp player cleanly. All these unchallenged hits, but eventually it falls to Rise. who gets it past Itachi, but not quite Vatira, and then sends it back to the Oxygen half.
Oh, but that was a big demo from Archie.
Oh.
I'm noticing more physical plays. This is such confusion inflicted from Oxygen Esports onto the defensive side. You're getting demos. You're going between each other. 2 players are up. Vatira doesn't know who's going to take the shot, and it's going to fall into the back of the net.
The Oxygen have made themselves hard to read. You probably heard from my reaction. I didn't see Jorius coming there. I thought it was going to be Archie following up for a 50-50. Then suddenly there's a big old Dutchman in the air, and it's 2-0. Oxygen have done exactly what's needed from them, and I'm impressed by it. But Karmine Corp, they've got a few more gears to play with themselves. Vatira gets a touch, but it's met by Rise. Shane dashing all the way to get to that ball and force a clean 50-50 with Exotic. It's well played from Rise, but it's going to backfire at least for now because Itachi's on the ball. Vatira's waiting behind him. Itachi opts high, and Rise is already there in the air, reading KC, getting the extra hit. Oxygen have stepped up 2 or 3 levels in the last 30 seconds. He's got a reset here. Oh, but it's met by Exotic.
And that was a rough double commit, but honestly, I'm kind of happy to see a double commit, as goofy as that sounds. It shows that Oxygen are looking to be more risky with their plays, and you can see this is a risky play at Rise. He wanted to turn around quickly. It was an open net, a slight opportunity to punish, but couldn't get away with it.
The sort of chance that when you're up against Karmine Corp, you feel you have to take because they'll go right down the other end. You get an opportunity themselves. It's not quite meant, but Rise again nipping in ahead of the Karmine Corp players. He is looked very good, I would say, for Oxygen so far. Even when they were a couple of games behind, he was always looking most likely. There are some double commits. Itachi gets a floor reset, then goes round. Exotic's in the middle. It may well fall for him now, but Rise yet again is the man who gets the touch that Oxygen needed.
And Exotic was almost demoed out of the play. He had to dodge the bump as there's more and more physicality coming through for Oxygen. These demos, huge factor as to why Oxygen have more space, how they're staying in the lead and keeping Karmine Corp scoreless.
An energized Oxygen, now looking more than a match for Karmine Corp, but they have to keep it going. Any mistake, and Karmine Corp, we know that they will punish them. That one's to the ceiling. Jorius has to win this. He does, and then he gets it underneath Exotic. Suddenly it's a complete flip turtle where everything is working out for Oxygen. These little 50-50s, these small moments are going OXG's way.
Well, because they've managed to slow down the rotations, taking more boost, being more physical, getting in the face of KC, and even a couple of these double commits are unpredictable. You don't know who's going to be touching the ball. That's what got the second goal for Oxygen. 2 players jumped up for it. You can't predict that. You can't read it. You just have to guess. And for the most part in this game, Karmine Corp have been slightly off on their estimations, and maybe another miss from KC on the backboard, around the defender, and right in front of the net.
Look at that from Jorius. That extra touch there, over the top of Itachi of all people. You think he can read everything, but not on this occasion, mate. Jorius, he's got a few tricks up his own sleeve. This is the version of Oxygen I think we were preying on seeing. They look like they're going to send this one all the way to at least a game 5, and that is a step up on the last time they played them.
And Exotic is still getting bumped. He's trying to find boost. Just got his first full boost pad in a while. Moving forward, Jorius is up early to deny it. You got 2 players falling in for Oxygen, but ultimately Karmine Corp still held scoreless. Final 30 seconds, and you're right, this has been a ridiculous recovery and change that was very much needed from Oxygen early.
Yeah, it's not been perfect from Oxygen by any means. 1 or 2 poor decisions, 1 or 2 misplays, but against KC, it's never going to be perfect. You can't beat them with perfection. You have to utilize the chaos and the unpredictability, and that's what they've done. And it seems these speed little aerials, you know, suggesting that you're going to tee it up for yourself, and then having a teammate nip in. Maybe Karmine Corp's kryptonite.
Essentially, the sloppier the game is, the more in favor it will be for Oxygen. You know, Karmine Corp want to stay spaced out. They want to maintain in control and not have to make it a dogfight on the pitch. But Oxygen are saying, here, you're going to have to come to us in the midfield and try and battle it out. Otherwise, we're going to demo you. We're going to steal your boost. We're going to punch you out the way, and we're going to take it by force.
Over somewhere else, Team Liquid probably just starting to have a sharp intake of breath as Oxygen win that game with such a flourish, because, as mentioned earlier, if Oxygen do win this one, there will be a grand final battle for Europe's 2nd seed between Oxygen and Team Liquid. So, Oxygen, you're looking at Rise there as well. I mean, he's a player who wears his heart on his sleeve, and you can tell from his reaction that he's not happy with one game. This is momentum that they're going to want to be building upon.
Oh, absolutely. But KC still have their timeout. They're going to opt to not use it right now. They still feel like they can stop this momentum that is slowly building and snowballing for Oxygen. And we'll have to wait and find out if that's possible in game number 4. This is going to be a more fluid start. There were a couple of pauses, but now we get to hopefully see a full 5 minutes run through and see if that does come in favor for Karmine Corp.
Yeah, you're right. I'd actually forgotten the fact that it was off the back of that break that Oxygen suddenly steamrolled Karmine Corp for the next few minutes. So let's see if they can do the same from the beginning of the game. All things now are even as Rise goes for the 50-50 with his old teammate Vatira. It's actually as Jory is waiting, fakes him out completely.
Oh, he got the bomb.
I was gonna say made the most of it, but Itachi's bump opens Oxygen right up. Rise had got back, and Rise stood up tall.
Itachi was looking to get the pre-flip too as that clear had come his way. If he had any more boost in the tank, he probably would have been able to finish it off, but a better look. And I'd say they're fighting fire with fire, getting more physical themselves. KC and Vatira mind games him, weaves his way through, and scores first.
It was sure set in the Fennec that brought this car into the meta with dribbles like this. And I feel like Vatira was channeling the sort of the celebrated Frenchman there with that play, dribbling it past all 3 Oxygen players, and in a split second, it's Karmine Corp that had the lead, might even double it here, but Archie does get back to make the save in time.
Not to just talk about shot set, but how much of an impact must have he had in that series, in that game, to make you think about him anytime somebody with the Fennec dribbles, and Jory, he's on the Fennec. We're not thinking about shot set this time because he's flying high.
Yeah, that was not a dribble at all. That was Jory feeling the boost, getting around, and just reading the ball better than Itachi. He had the better angle on it, but still had some work to do. And he also judged the fact that Itachi had missed the ball. And when you're up against a team like KC, they don't miss it very often. So to gamble is smart play from him.
Right, and it's the best choice you can go for, because if you're not going to get that many chances to punish against KC, so there was even a slight possibility you're going to want to position yourself in that spot. Jorius did exactly that. And a quick response, good recovery from Oxygen.
Rice is going to send this one all the way back to the KC half. It's a good play again from Oxygen. Long gone are the thoughts of them not being able to score. We know they can do that now. Torres gets a wall dash. Archie's coming in. More good pace. The save was decent. Exotic with pace for himself. Atira's coming in, but it's put out wide by Jorius. And now Jorius underneath this one. He has no boost at all, so can just send it about a third of the way down the pitch. Atira's coming in this time. Who's beneath him? Who's beneath the ball? Jorius is the only one there. There's a three-way race. Itachi and Exotic. Itachi wins it, but only gets it as far as Archie, whose hit, I think, Turtle, it must be said, was pretty poor there because there was a lot of open space to play with.
And it was a perfect opportunity to punish that double commit from Karmine Corp. You need to have a better clear. That's to a teammate. Exotic was able to recover and get back just in time, but you start to think, what if, what could have happened? It was a better touch, but they have no time to think about what they've lost now. They've got to get back into it. Halfway point in game number 4. Came and went, and Itachi finds Exotic. Quick turnaround, but the shot isn't on target and directly into the corner.
Karmine Corp continued to play the patient game, not being sucked into Oxygen's playstyle, not wanting to have a foot race with them and just go for pace every single time. They're happy to Oxygen play every now and then, but that can backfire when Jorius comes in. Rise, a great first touch, then goes to the bump on Exotic. Wasn't able to get it, but more creativity from Rise. This time it's Karmine Corp's turn. They will come forward this time with a flourish. Itachi meeting Jorius, puts it into the center. Archie's the recipient. Via the walls he goes as well. Wants the second touch, doesn't get it, but it works almost perfectly. How on earth has Vatira read that so quickly?
I have no idea, but I think Rise is going to want another look at that shot. I mean, it was a difficult angle regardless. There was still a big slot in the left side of the net he could have put it in. An unfortunate miss off the crossbar. Good save still from Vatira. There's been a couple of knocks on the door from Oxygen. Nobody letting them in yet, but they look better and better each time they move up the field.
Archie gets the flip reset, but it's only into the center where Vatira is waiting. And we know that Vatira doesn't need too many opportunities to get himself a goal.
Off the backboard, here we go.
A miss from Jorius. There's another save from Rise. He's made so many in this game. I'd say of the Oxygen players, he is the one that seems to have a keener sense of what KC are going to do.
Maybe he's understanding what his old teammate wants to do, where he's trying to move the ball. And he's also got the read on Exotic and Itachi, but there's some space. Itachi, we're talking about him. Let's see what he has. Off the ceiling, flip reset, inbound. Tried to pinch it off the backboard. Didn't squeeze it in front of the net. An unfortunate mistake there. But they're back on defense immediately. Quick turnaround.
Yeah, but there are a couple of Karmine Corp errors that are coming in. The fact that Jorius' goal was from an Itachi misread, and there they had a chance to take the lead, and they didn't take it. Itachi chose wrong. How rarely do you see that? Oxygen potentially under Karmine Corp's skin. As we go forward with 25 seconds left, Oxygen going to keep on beating down that door all the way up to overtime. I want to avoid it. Once forward, Exotic is desperate just to slow this ball down. More than happy to force the OT. Jorius wants to change it, but he's just fallen for their trap as Itachi sends it forwards. Rise up against Vatira. Vatira wins this one with the challenge. 7 seconds left now. Jorius out wide. Exotic loses the ball to Rise. But Rise is backwards. The little bump not doing him any good. That one will go to the ceiling. Is anyone closing it down? Exotic does keep it up. Tries to tee up his teammate. Itachi's coming in. Can't go over Rise though. More good defending from him. And we do have an overtime that I think KC at the end didn't want as much as Oxygen.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously trying to keep things up. I'd say they haven't had the most momentum in this game. Oxygen had higher quality opportunities, better looks on target. They weren't able to punish or make them count when presented. Jorius maybe end things early in OT, but doesn't get the hit he wants or the reset. We're still stuck in this corner.
These are two undefeated teams in overtime this event. Karmine Corp 6-0 in overtimes. Might be 7 here if this one goes in. They remain the only undefeated overtime team. Itachi sinks it, and it's 3-1 in the series.
7-0 in OTs. Itachi by himself. There was nobody in the midfield. This man just cleared it all the way down and saw that nobody from Oxygen wanted to contest or challenge in the air. And he said, okay, I'll just take the shot myself. If you don't want to come at me, let me hit you with a crossbar down. And that's a good way to end the OT. 3-1 for KC.
That really hurts for Oxygen as well, because they were beginning to match Karmine Corp. They were beginning to shake them just a little bit. And then Itachi is left all alone in the overtime, and a lot of that work goes undone. Suddenly, Oxygen find themselves where BDS were yesterday after 4 games, which is needing 3 more in a row to take the series.
I still think this was Oxygen's game to win. Absolutely.
Agreed.
There were so many good looks, so many chances for them. That first goal for Jorius was a fantastic motion downfield, but I'm still thinking back to several different instances where Rise or potentially Archie could have punished or put one in, where KC didn't look the best on defense. They weren't getting the cleanest reads, and the vision on the field wasn't as predictable, which means you have to strike. And for them to now be forced on match point where you're looking for 3 games in a row, that is a tough obstacle to hurdle.
It's an almost impossible obstacle to hurdle, I would say. It's very, very tricky right now for Oxygen. They have to just believe that they have a chance. If they want to steal this second seed from under the nose of Team Liquid, first they have to go through KC, not just once, 3 times. And no better place to start than right now, though, in Wasteland. As Archie closes down his opponent in the center, Vatira sends it long. Exotic had hung around for a bit. Dorius puts it out wide. And KC already starting this game on the up. And Itachi's coming in. It could be 1-0 up. He squeezes it to the crossbar, but Itachi's going to follow it. The KC weapon is rolling.
Yeah, I mean, he's back in that comfortable throne, reading the position, reading the play, and how it's going to develop perfectly. Itachi immediately cuts out that pass, can put it crossbar down, and then follow up with a 50-50. Immediately into game 5 we go, and we've already got KC making waves downfield, but an early response would be beneficial. Quickly sniped out from Itachi.
I mean, Karmine Corp are looking for perfection. They're looking to get into another Grand Finals this split, into another Grand Finals this season, and get their 3rd regional victory in a row. And you can see why. They're just so fluid, Turtle.
Yeah, and that was so unpredictable, too, from Exotic. You saw Rise in the air, was trying to predict in pre-jump where he was going. Exotic stopped boosting, and so did Rise, so he went below the ball. Then Exotic hits the gas, boosts past him off the backboard, and Jorius, not the best toucher. I don't even think he got a touch on it. That's a mistake, and also good initiation from Exotic to get the 2nd goal. At this point, it's slowly slipping away from your grasp. What do you do if you're Oxygen?
Just keep trying. Just hope that there is a Karmine Corp mistake somewhere in there.
Yeah.
However unlikely it seems, maybe you can force something, but look at the boost control that Karmine Corp have. Oxygen's so far back. The mistakes are coming in. it almost seems a little bit like they're starting to give up. And that's no discredit to them. Karmine Corp are just that good. They've been just that good. And they're just beginning to dominate this game.
Here we go, Itachi. Off the backboard, could make it 3. Exotic is going to make it 3. No double tap, but a good follow-up. We aren't even at the halfway point, and we're seeing KCB as dominant as ever. And I'm thinking back to what was working for Oxygen, what was giving them the greatest chance. It was the demos, it was the aggression that they were able to at least force up against Karmine Corp. But when I'm looking at the boost meters and I'm looking at the reads that KC are making, I don't think any amount of bumps or boost grabs is going to take away from this momentum.
It's just turning into a bit of a victory lap right now for Karmine Corp. Team Liquid, presumably we would expect from this point, will go into their second grand finals in a row with Karmine Corp a little bit later on, knowing that they have secured Europe's second seed. And Oxygen, I believe, will be in third. Exotic puts it out wide. Jurius is there. Oxygen are still going to try and make something happen. There is still time, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The Karmine Corp are as good at digging in and stopping you scoring as they are scoring themselves. Maybe Rise with a double flip reset can change that, but it's still somehow put out wide perfectly.
Ooh.
Rise coming out the goal, can't quite nip in either. And Oxygen running out of time.
Does look good from Rise, though. It's getting that rotation. And now cutting out early. Vatira is caught in no man's land, and it's a freebie given.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I think Vatira expected Itachi to get the double tap. So then when Itachi missed it off the side, Vatira was left stranded. We have seen that from KC. I mentioned it earlier that every now and then they over-rely on each other. Maybe just a slight gap in the armor if they get a little bit too cocky.
I don't think that you want to change much. I feel like just having trust in your teammates to hit that double tap.
I'm trying here,
That's
man.
the right choice. I'm
trying.
just saying. I'm just saying. And now 1v1, Vatira Rise. Old teammates against each other. And Vatira reminds them who's sitting at the top of the food chain.
Show of hands, who didn't expect Vatira to score here? Anyone? Anyone in the class?
Anyone?
Nope. Everybody backed.
Hey,
when
put some respect on the broken wrist player, all right?
True. That's true. Yeah, that's why it happened. Because Vatira, because Rise with the broken wrist. Oh, it could be 5.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, jeez.
Tachi, how are you going to do this off the kickoff? 5-1, halfway point. He didn't have any boost either. Man's hugged the ball and then squeezed it out to the left. This is ridiculous stuff from Karmine.
It's just you've got to enjoy what you're seeing from Karmine Corp. Exotic, Itachi, and Vatira will be going to this major and they will be demanding nothing less than victory. They will not care that it's on North American soil. They won't care at all. You know, they've already experienced essentially an away crowd when, who was it they played? It was when they played Moist. And the EU crowd pretty much turned on Karmine Corp because there were so many Karmine Corp fans that were loud, right? So it turned into a little battle there.
And you're talking about the fans. It's crazy that you remind me of that too, because we talked to Itachi and he was mentioning how at that LAN, at the fall major, I think they were a bit rattled by all of the support they were getting. I mean, that would overwhelm and stress anybody out if you're getting that much support from the fans, from the blue wall. I mean, we heard the drums. We heard so much Vatira. No. Looking like free play right now. Might have to bring out the drums for that goal.
Yeah, I would love to have seen the Wasteland drums go boom, 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 boom after, what, a musty double flip reset and then a maybe half a pogo attempted at the end. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much they're toying.
It sounds like you just vomited out a bunch
right
of
now.
Rocket League terms. Like with what you just said, you could have just Googled Rocket League mechanical terms and just read a list. That's what it sounded like.
AI commentates a 1v1 Rocket League match.
And he was about to hit it too. That's the crazy thing.
Oh, here we go. 5-2? No. I don't know how much more we can say about Karmine Corp or this series or this game for sure, because this one's long dead. Oxygen diving at nothing. There's still more goals in it for Karmine Corp if they want them, you know, but I think all these players have succumbed to the fact that this is going to be Karmine Corp's grand final. Will now turn their attention to the grand final.
Yep.
The chance of winning 3 in a row. Ooh. Is that a tilter?
I don't know what exactly their mentality is going into this this grand final. As 30 seconds left. Okay, you know, do I want to be that guy and say it's possible? Come on.
Well, let's do it. All right, yeah, okay.
Come on.
Let's do it.
Believe. All right, Oxygen. This is going to be the craziest kickoff the world has ever seen. This is going back left immediately to Rise. He's going to hit this flip reset. I'm feeling it. Or a double commit on the kickoff. into the boost grab from Itachi, into Vatira in the air. All right, it's over.
And Vatira gets a flip reset as
Yeah,
well, just for insult to injury. Yeah, it's over. Okay, well, it was fun to pretend for 25 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add about Karmine Corp that we haven't said already?
I'm just excited that this is going to be a historic RLCS day. I mean, we're getting the first tiebreaker situation in EU to make a major. It's going to be a 3-way tiebreaker that will be broadcasted after the grand final. So then now we also get to witness potential history in the making with KC winning 3 regional events in a row within a split. No team has done that in Europe, and they just might make history. This ball actually wants to hit the ground and let me stop talking.
Yeah, you can stop. You're fine. You're fine. The ball will hit the ground when it's good and ready. Because I could have stayed up for a minute and you just keep saying, make it history.
Make it history. Make it history.
The next hit song from Isaac App, make it history.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Karmine Corp, they won. They're excellent. They're brilliant. We love them. They're in the grand finals again.